This is the OBAs podcast, the King's podcast.
We are rolling.
Awesome,
We
buddy.
are rolling.
Nice.
My man Dan, how are you today?
Amazing, brother. How about you? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for making it out today.
My pleasure.
The people behind the camera didn't get to see this, but we went through like a whole a whole like time frame of trying to figure out this setup, and like I want to say thank you for helping me figure it out. Um, and I think that speaks to your experience with podcasting. So thank you for being here, and thanks for helping me figure this setup out and being so patient. Appreciate
I thank you for that compliment, but the people should know I did almost nothing.
it.
I sat down, I drank water. This is a very professional setup for a guy who just started. I mean that sincerely, man. So
Yeah.
applause to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. I think we can start from where we met. I remember the first time I spoke to you, and one of the things I've told you before in the past is that I think you have an amazing speaking voice, and I want to say talking to you kind of felt a little intimidating just because like I have an accent, and then obviously the podcast is in English. And one of my biggest worries with this podcast is like, oh, are people going to be able to understand me? And like, how is my voice going to sound
Yeah.
to people? But just in talking to you and us conversating, and you never like, oh, I can't hear you. Like you just talk. I'm like, oh, if I can talk to him, I probably can talk to anybody.
Would you look at that, man? Awesome. That I would totally agree.
Um, okay, so let's do like a tiny introduction. Um, so this is Daniel, and I think your last name is Mirsajedin.
Mirsajedin. Yes.
Mirsajedin, that's how
Yeah,
you say it.
that's how I say it.
What does it mean? Do you know what it means?
I don't think it has a specific meaning.
Okay, okay. And you're Persian.
Yep.
Both parents are Persian, and
Yep.
you've been in Canada for
For over 13 years now.
13 years.
A little bit over, yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna ask how old you were, but at 13, you were pretty much a child.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember your transit? Where were you before Canada?
Before Canada, we lived in Germany for some time.
In Germany.
Yeah.
So do you remember what experience was like going from Germany to Canada at that age? And did you actually, how aware of were you of the changing environment?
A very little boomer. Because when you're so young, you don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
You find a bunch of people, you become friends with them. And then people can relate whenever you move schools or move cities, because maybe dad got a new job. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to lose these friends. I'm going to have to start over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm here. I love this place. I love this country. And I love Vancouver Island.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And which is one of like the themes of this podcast, at least for now, is that I think it's very special being on the island. Beach, for instance, like going and seeing like the overwhelming like wave of waters, I think is very calming. But in some way, I think that translates to people living on the island in that there's a special feeling that you get from being on the island, and then training on the island or pursuing a goal on the island, I think can be very special.
Wow. How
Yeah.
beautifully put, man. You're right. I think we have so many gems, so many hidden
Yeah,
beauties. And I
exactly.
think you see it. The more you live here, the more they stick out to
Yeah,
you.
they stick out to you. Yeah, yeah. And you are one of the gems on the
Oh,
island. And that's why you're here.
That's very kind of you, brother. Thank you.
One of the things that you do that I really love and appreciate is I would call it a training program, even though you might not call it that.
Mhm.
The training program that you have at the rec center. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what that entails?
Sure, man, sure. So what I believe, Boomer, you're referring to, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is if people have heard of the words like water fitness
Yes.
or aquatic fitness.
Yes.
Now, historically, it's an exercise that are usually seniors are in it, but it's really for people who are coming off like post-injury, who are recovering from something. Like physiotherapists are big fans of this. An individual is usually on the deck. You've got 20 to 30 people in the water, and you're leading them through a series of exercises. Kind of like, think of any exercise class, like a cardio class or a spin class, something like that.
Yep. Yep. And one of the first times I saw you going through one of those classes, you were on the deck,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had like a bunch of people who were scattered in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and you were basically taking them through a series of exercises. The exercises themselves seemed very basic, and forgive me for saying basic,
No, man, all good.
not to shit on it, but like it just seemed like intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I looked at the people in the water and just trying to figure out what they were doing, you almost cannot see anything but just the ripples. That's just the ripples because they're immersed in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But then I can obviously see that it's a program where you're telling them, oh, I'm actually doing this because I can see you, so I have an idea of what you're doing in the water. Um, but just being in the water kind of speaks to the idea of, you know, having the water move your body. And that in a lot of ways helps with recovery. It helps with muscle movement. It helps with, for me, like for a long time, I had an ankle injury
Mm-hmm.
that I could not put weight on. So the idea of being in the water actually makes me feel like I can put weight on certain joints that ideally, if I'm having to walk, it's gonna be so painful.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you, do you look at that training program more for recovery, or do you look at it as more as a training program? Like if someone is trying to build muscle.
There's two things that come to mind, Boomer, when you say that. Whenever we talk about exercising in the water, the beauty of it, which you've already nailed, is it takes away a lot of the pressure that we normally put on our joints or on our body. So take running on the pavement, for example, or jump rope or heavy weightlifting. Over time, it taxes your body in a
Yep.
sense where if you're sprinting today as hard as you can, I don't know of many people who do that 2, 3 days in a row. Why?
Yeah.
It's so hard on the body. So if you're someone who's recovering from some sort of an injury or pain or something going on with your joints, that's one kind of demographic that I would highly recommend going towards water fitness exercises. Now it depends on your instructor, the level of intensity, what kind of moves they're doing. If that's not your cup of tea, even just swimming is freaking phenomenal. The second group that I would recommend it for is anyone who's interested in healthy aging.
Mm.
So I was interested in what happens to our bodies as we get older. And as we know, we don't get faster, we don't get stronger, right? There's a decline,
Yep.
especially for athletes. And what was really interesting that I heard by a doctor, Dr. Atia, he said the
Oh
first
yeah.
hallmark, have you heard of him?
I've heard of
Oh,
him.
perfect.
Yeah.
So you might already know this. The first hallmark of aging is a loss of type 2 muscle fibers.
Hmm. What is that?
That's a fancy way of saying your fast twitch muscle
Oh,
fibers.
okay.
In
Okay.
another word, explosiveness.
Mm.
Think about a sprinter right when he's going. Think about a wrestler shooting for a takedown.
Yeah.
That is the first thing that you start to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So naturally, we can't prevent that from happening, which is, it's a part of life. We are going to lose certain things, but we can delay the onset at which we lose it. So
Hmm.
we can delay, the rate or like the speed at which we lose that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you do it? You do moves that incorporate those fast twitch muscle fibers.
Mm.
In other words, take a squat, add a jump to it. Think jumping jack variations. Think you do a push up with a clap.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you're doing these kind of explosive movements. Nerds will call this plyometrics. I don't actually mean nerds, but so
Yeah, yeah, I
you
get what you're
use
saying.
those muscles. So if you look at, if I take an 85-year-old woman and I say, let's do jumping jacks, jump as high as you can, her knees are going to give out, right?
Do that
All
in
of
the
a sudden, you
water.
bring her in the water. She's doing 10, 15, 20 jumping. She's doing squat jumps.
Yeah.
When an
Yeah.
85-year-old woman tells me, yeah, I'm coming off a post-knee surgery, and I'm watching her do jumping jacks in the water,
That's amazing.
it speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that that experience of getting in the water, moving your joints, moving your body, you're still burning calories, you're still
Mm-hmm.
exercising, but there's a huge relief on your joints,
Yep,
on your
absolutely.
muscles, and then you're working those, fast twitch fibers. What did you call them? What did you
Mm-hmm.
call them?
You could call them a type 2 muscle fibers
Yeah.
or a fast twitch muscle
Or
fibers. Either or work.
fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah,
And that really goes a long way for me because I also do kickboxing.
yeah, sick.
And the idea of having your explosiveness
Mm-hmm.
on track is actually very important because you're
Mm-hmm.
bursting into movements. Like you're in range and the next second you're out of range. You're in range and
Awesome.
you're out of range. This is just all to say that I do highly recommend water immersion. And it would be great to get on your type of program where you actually have someone who is experienced, like taking you. I have a lot of other things I want to talk to you about.
I'm open. Whatever you
Um,
say. You're the captain of the boat.
I am the captain of this boat. um, so you have a podcast,
Yep.
and how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this for at least close to 4 years now, give or
About four
take.
years. Um, one of the things that made me very uneasy in getting this podcast
Mhm.
going was just like the idea of, oh my God, this is so scary.
Mm.
Starting a podcast, talking to people, being comfortable in with your voice
Mm-hmm.
was one of the things that I struggled with. And talking to you and meeting you and hearing you speak kind of like made me feel like I should be more comfortable.
Wow.
So yeah, so and I say this to basically say how has podcasting been for you? What has been your mental approach to kind of making sure that you kind of block out what we can call insecurities
Mm.
and things that might maybe make you want to stop or make you want to rethink and be like, oh, is this really what I want to do? Because even though I'm literally just starting, I hear those voices already.
Mm-hmm. Sure, brother, sure.
I hear those voices. So how have you handled
First of all, I thank you very much for the kind words, Boomer.
that? Yep.
Especially about speaking. I think speaking is so important, and it is. I don't even want to say it's normal to have those insecurities because everyone has them,
Yep.
right? About different aspects of life. I know for me, the biggest thing was pressing that record button. It was, what are people going to say? And who's going to see this?
Yep.
My friends can see this. My professors can see this. Like I've actually had professors of mine at university see my videos.
Oh, really?
And then sometimes, like for people who don't know or haven't done any piece of content, imagine you're talking to a friend at a cafe about whatever you want about the economy, about philosophy, about something. Now imagine if you're wrong about something, right? Or imagine if there's like a hot take you have in there. And think about anybody in the world could jump in and tell you what they think about your opinion at any moment through commenting on YouTube.
That is
Man,
scary.
it is scary,
That is scary.
certainly. So I think even though there's that voice that says this could be better and the camera could be better, I could have more guests on, I could buy a bigger studio, there's also another voice that is saying, look at how far you've come. Look at what you've done. Like you started a podcast, you won. I mean, it's a W in and of itself.
Yeah.
You get this, get the lights, get the microphone. This is like you're doing it, man.
Yeah.
And look, you want to talk about your things you can improve on? Absolutely. But you better talk about the things you've done already.
Yeah. Don't ignore the steps you've taken.
Absolutely, man. You got to be fair.
Don't
You got to be
ignore all
fair.
the hard work you've put into it.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very encouraging. And trust me, bro, I'm gonna bug you a couple times.
Good, buddy. Good.
I'm gonna bug you in the middle of the night when I'm fucking going through.
Awesome, buddy.
when
Awesome.
My head is giving me a tantrum. I'm like, oh my God. I need
Same
to
boat,
talk
man.
to someone with experience.
Oh, man.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate your
Of
time.
course.
One thing that we didn't get to talk about today,
Mhm.
which I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire
Mhm.
the next time we have this,
Mhm.
is dating.
Think about the spice, man. The
Yeah.
spice. Oh, it gets that kind of spice. I mean, that's spicy too. That's
Um,
spicy too.
Okay. I also want to talk about this guy.
What is this? What is this, Boomer?
This is an amazing package from our dear sponsors.
Mm.
And the question I have for you is
Yeah.
basically, it's very simple. What is your spice tolerance level?
Oh, I love spice.
10,
Uh-huh.
before you
Oh,
answer,
God.
10 being I can take a bunch of peppers and throw it in my mouth right away
Jesus.
and down it without water.
Oh, my gosh.
And
Oh, my
0
gosh.
being, well, let's just say 1. 1 being I can take a pinch,
Uh-huh.
just a tiny pinch, and that's all I can take.
Uh-huh.
What's your
Well,
level?
what's your level?
I cannot eat peppers,
Okay. Me neither.
but I would say I'm very close to a 9. And think about this carefully because I'm gonna grab a spoon, and depending on your response, I'm gonna dig a whole spoon. That's what I'm gonna take. But whatever you say, I'll try to gauge that and have you taste a little bit of that. So, what's your spice tolerance level?
2.5.
2.5.
Hey, brother, don't
You're
laugh.
trying to run away. You're trying to run away from this pepper. 2.5.
Okay, we'll say 4. We'll say 4.
4.
4 or 5. Let's say
Okay.
average, right? 5 is average?
5 is average.
Mhm.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. And you're Persian, so
Yes.
there's you like
Yeah,
traditionally
sure.
there's
Sure,
like
sure.
a
We
lot
have
of spices. Yeah. But I'm not. I was just joking about it. I'm not.
Grown
I'm not
man.
gonna
I
put
think
you
about
to
to
the
pull out the
fire.
smoothie man. Oh no, he means
No, 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 I'm
business.
not. But guys, if you're looking for a brand that has really good pepper, I think they're amazing. You can use their pepper in different ways. You can use it before you cook. You can use it during while cooking, and you can use it as a garnish after you cook. So thank you, Pepper Them. We love you.
Where can they get it? What's the
Oh yes,
website?
true. Thank you very
Let's say I
much.
want to buy it. Where do I go?
You go to pepperdem.ca.
How do you spell that?
That is pepperdem.ca.
Awesome.
Dan, if people want to get a hold of you, where can they get a hold of you?
Man, if you folks go on Google or go on YouTube and you type in Danial Teaches, well, that's Daniel with two A's. So Danial Teaches. You'll find a bunch of my videos, TikTok, Instagram, any social media platform. I'm probably up on there. So if you're interested about health, mental health, that stuff, you can check it out.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Hey, it's
Thanks
been a
for being
pleasure,
here.
brother. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Thank you for coming.